No one talks about what happens in schools after dark. But the people who've seen it never forget. There's something wrong with schools at night. Not just the silence. Silence you can handle. It's the way the building seems to breathe differently when the last person is supposed to be gone. The way a hallway you've walked 1,000 times suddenly feels like it goes on longer than it should. People who work in schools after dark, custodians, security guards, teachers pulling late nights, some of them have stories they don't tell anyone. Not because no one would believe them, because saying it out loud means accepting what they felt was real. These are 3 of those stories.
Marcus had been the lead custodian at Wren Hill Middle School for 6 years. He was not the kind of man who scared easily. He was the kind of man who solved problems. Leaking pipes, broken tiles, the kind of building rot that hides behind walls until it doesn't. He knew that old building the way you know a difficult person. All its moods, all its sounds, all the ways it could surprise you if you stopped paying attention. The 4th floor had been sealed for 2 years. Structural issues. Nobody up there. Nobody authorized in. Marcus had the only master key, and the stairwell door to the 4th floor had a padlock. He had locked it himself. So when he heard the footsteps above him that night, whispering, fast ones, the rhythm of a child running, he stopped mopping and stood very still. He was in the east corridor, 3rd floor, 10 p.m. The building was empty. He'd signed in alone. The footsteps lasted maybe 8 seconds. And then stopped. He told himself raccoon, bird in the ducts. He went back to mopping. 20 minutes later, they came again. And this time, he counted them. 14 steps. Quick. Light. Then silence. He stood under the spot where they'd ended and looked up at the ceiling as if he could see through it. Then slowly, he took 3 steps to the left. And the footsteps moved. Same pace, same weight. They repositioned directly above him and stopped. His mop handle hit the floor before he realized he'd dropped it. He tested it again. He didn't want to.
But something in him needed to be wrong about what he thought was happening. He moved right. They moved right. He walked quickly toward the stairwell. Footsteps followed him, tracking him step for step across the ceiling, and then stopped the moment he put his hand on the stairwell door. Marcus stood there, breathing. He thought about what was on the other side of that padlocked door. The 4th floor. Sealed. Empty. Then he thought about what it meant. That whatever was up there knew exactly where he was. He didn't go up. He went down, straight to the entrance, and told the security guard. A man named Phil. What had happened? Phil didn't laugh. He asked one question. Which corridor? Marcus told him. Phil was quiet for a moment. Then he said 2 custodians before him had reported the same thing. And both of them transferred within a week. He also said that once, years ago, the lock had been found open. He went upstairs. The entire floor was empty, except for one thing. In the dust, there were small footprints. Children's footprints. Walking in a perfect circle. No beginning, no end. Marcus transferred within a month. But later he said something that stayed with him more than anything else. It wasn't the footsteps. It was the moment they followed him all the way to the door and then stopped. Like whatever it was knew it couldn't go any further. Like it had done this before. You tell yourself there are explanations. Old buildings, strange acoustics. But sometimes, the explanation is just something we tell ourselves, so we don't have to face what actually happened. Diane was 16, a sophomore, and she had stayed after school to finish a history project. Her teacher had given her a key. She wasn't completely alone. The gym still had practice going. She could hear it faintly in the distance. She kept the classroom door open and worked. After about 40 minutes, she looked up at the whiteboard. There was something written in the corner. Small. Something she was sure wasn't there before. It said, "Don't look at the door." She laughed, probably a prank. And without thinking, she looked at the door. The hallway was empty. Nothing there. She went back to work. A few minutes later, she looked up again. Her body reacted before her mind did. There was new writing on the board. She hadn't heard anything. No footsteps, no chalk, nothing. The message was bigger this time. Right in the center. "I asked you not to." She froze. She grabbed her bag, backed toward the door, never taking her eyes off the room. Then she ran, straight to the gym. She stayed there until someone took her home. The next morning, she went back with a friend. The board was completely clean. Except for one thing. The chalk pieces were almost gone. Worn down. Like someone had been writing for a very long time and erased everything except those 2 messages. Diane said later, that was the worst part. Not what she saw, but what she didn't. Because whatever was in that room had written more, much more, and chose to leave only those 2 sentences for her. Some things don't just exist in a place. They stay there long before you arrive. And sometimes they notice you.
Paul was assigned to inspect his old elementary school before it was demolished. He hadn't been there in decades, but everything felt familiar. Just smaller, like childhood always does. He moved through the building, room by room, until he reached his old classroom, room 214. Most of it was empty, but the cubbies were still there. Old, faded. Almost all the labels were gone, except one. His name, still there, clear, untouched. He told himself it was coincidence. Then he looked inside. There was a photograph, a class photo. His class. He recognized it instantly. But something was wrong. There were too many students. He counted. 24. But there had only been 23. He checked the records. 23. No extra student. But in the photo, there was someone else. A child he didn't recognize, standing behind him, slightly out of place. He showed it to others. No one knew who it was. But one person said something strange. I feel like I shouldn't keep looking at it. Paul kept the photo and studied it. Again and again. Until he noticed something. Every child was looking at the camera, except one. That child was looking somewhere else, not at the camera, but slightly to the side, at a specific spot. Paul realized that spot was exactly where he would have been standing before he moved. The child was looking at him before the photo was even taken.
Some places hold on to things quietly for years. Schools are meant to be safe. But every night, the lights go out and the building stays. And whatever learns those hallways in the dark has had a long time to watch. So the next time something feels slightly wrong, don't ignore it. Because by the time you understand why, it might already be too late. Subscribe. Because some stories are better not faced alone.